Hi everyone, it is Thirsty Thursday, the one day a week where we flood our body with lots of gorgeous fresh juices and herbal teas. And today I'm doing my live post from the work page, just because, and my flower's looking a bit odd there. Yes, so today I am talking about not just juice, but about herbs as well that help with our digestive system in particular. What I've done to remind me what to talk about is I've got all my herbs over here, which you can't see, and literally I'm in my dispenser. I'm just pulling all these herbs off the shelf because so many work with our digestive system, because herbs are, you know, they're like people. They don't just work in one area, they work holistically. So today I'm hoping to give you a little bit of insight into how to use herbs for your digestive system. I've tried to choose some that are quite common and readily available, so you might be able to find them as teas in your local health food store or even in your garden. So this is my juice here. I got my broccoli, celery, lemon juice and a bit of apple. It's quite nice actually, quite nice. It's good to have all your cruciferous vegetables. I put them in my juices and smoothies. I'm going to put that down. You have to excuse me too. I actually caught man flu. So I'm getting over this cold, which I've found horrendous to deal with. But I'm getting to the other end of that. Now to talk about digestive herbs. Where do I start? You know where I'll start? I'll start with bitters, because bitters are a tradition that is now lost in our world. You know, we used to traditionally have bitters before a meal. Now, bitters can be in the form of, as a tincture, I use gentian, very bitter herb. Some of the antiparasitic herbs like wormwood are very bitter, but even things like dandelion leaf. And what you can do if you've got digestive issues, you can actually make like a little green salad with dandelion or even rocket leaves. Those are real bittery leaves. And what happens is that when we eat them and that triggers that bitter response in the mouth, it gets the whole digestive system moving. It gets your pancreas and your gallbladder. All those enzymes start to fire up, ready to break down your meal. So if you're somebody that experiences things like bloating or cramping or just sluggishness, sometimes when you eat, you can just, you feel like things are just sitting there, then bitters is a really good thing to incorporate, particularly when you're about to eat a heavy meal. Now, we have our auxiliary organs of the digestive system, which is the liver and gallbladder, is two of them. And I just thought I'd mention that because dandelion is a liver support and gallbladder support. Now, a sign that you need gallbladder support is that when you eat fatty foods, you get diarrhea, because what's happening is the bile is meant to help break down. Bile works like soap. We put soap in the when you're washing your dishes, you put soap in. Bile works like that, and it helps the body to break down fat. So if your body's not breaking down fat properly, you'll get diarrhea, and that's a sign that your gallbladder needs some love. So dandelion is a good one to incorporate in there. Again, readily available through shops as a tea or from your friendly herbalist. Next up, I'll just pick these chamomile. This is chamomile tea bags. Chamomile as a digestive herb is very good if you're somebody who experiences cramping. Chamomile is an antispasmodic. It's good from the mouth to the butt, we like to say. And chamomile is good for people who have that emotional relationship with food, in that, when they're very stressed, they won't eat, or when they're very stressed, they do eat. So they're very tied up with their emotions. Chamomile tea is very good for you. Another herb that is good for that emotional connection with digestion is lemon balm too. Lemon balm, it has a very living, happiness to it, lemon balm. So if someone, they get a bit down and then, they go off their food and that sort of thing, lemon balm is a great digestive herb for those sorts of people. What else do I have here? Fennel. The reason I'm doing digestive herb, well, not the reasons. You know, when I try and think of things to talk about, often, you know, I reflect on what's coming through me in my clinic, or maybe something that's going on for me myself. Now, I did, if you're not aware, I did chemotherapy. I finished in February. I hate my hair. I didn't mind being bald, but I don't like my hair now. That's why I've got a hat on, because it looks stupid. But anyway, what chemotherapy does, and other drugs can do this too, is it just screws with your digestive system. And I had a pretty good digestive system, but now that I'm in recovery from chemo, I am finding I can get a bit sluggish, a bit constipated, and just the last couple of weeks, very windy and very smelly. And which is not good. If you're windy and smelly, it means that your microbiome is not happy. Because when we're eating food and the little bacteria is doing what it's meant to do, it does let off gas, and it's quite normal, you know, to have a fart and it not smell too much. But if it's smelly, then that means that there's something going on in your system. Now, you can get right down to that reductionist science and get right down into the correct probiotic to take and what exactly is going on, which you may want to talk to myself or a practitioner about. But really, these herbs, they have that real holistic effect, and you might find that all you need is to introduce some of the herbs that I'm talking about today, and that's enough to get you chugging along like you used to. So wind, we can look at fennel. This is fennel in a tincture form. You can also buy fennel seeds. It's actually traditional for the Ayurvedic or the Indians will often chew on fennel seeds after a meal, a bit the way that we use after dinner mints, which were traditionally actual mints like peppermint, spearmint, you know, peppermint leaves. So fennel is used particularly for bloating and for wind. You may, if you've got babies, you may be familiar with gripe water, which is made with fennel, and also dill. We'll chat in on one of my herb groups with herbalists about fennel, and someone was saying that they don't like fennel because it has that licorice taste. So dill can work as well. So if you're making a tea, you just get the fennel seeds or the dill seeds, and you can just crush them up a little bit, pour your hot water on, cover, let it, you know, sit for about 10 minutes or so, and then you can sip on that. So that's really good if you get a lot of wind, you're very gassy. The other thing that's actually not too bad for wind and gassiness, and is also good for people who can get very inflamed. They might have like psoriasis, itchy skin, very kind of acidic, what we call acidic, and that is alfalfa. Again, this is in the tincture, so that's when I'm making up herbal blends, I'll use the tincture, but you can just use alfalfa sprouts that you get, you know, from the grocer, or you can sprout your own. It's a really great habit to be in, sprouting. So alfalfa sprout is good for people that have problem digesting proteins. So you can have, like, say you're eating meat or even like legumes or something like that, put the alfalfa sprouts in there with your meal. So alfalfa, fabulous. What else have I got here? Gentian, we've done that. Sorry. Oh, I can't forget the mints. Peppermint. Peppermint has... Oh, actually, something else I thought of too. Sorry. We'll go peppermint first, very fresh. It is an antispasmodic. It has very calming effect. So it's good for, like, again, cramping, heaviness. We can have, you know, a bit of peppermint tea after a meal just to help to have things move along. Also parsley, you might be familiar because, like I said, traditionally we had the bitters before a meal, but also we'd have, you know, the peppermint after a meal. And that's where the whole idea of an after dinner mint comes from. It's actually from having a cup of peppermint tea or chewing on peppermint leaves and helping the digestive process, particularly with heavy meals. So we can do this in tincture form. You can do it as a tea, but it's really good if you're particularly somebody, you know, after you've eaten, you just have that real heavy feeling. Just go make yourself a nice cup of peppermint tea. The other thing that is traditionally eaten with a meal is parsley. Good old parsley. Parsley is so good for you. It's very actually quite nutrient dense. A lot of people don't realize it's a really good superfood. So in your juices, in your salads, everywhere. Parsley is wonderful for that. As a herb, we think of it energetically of a herb that really works for the abdomen region. So it works, it works for kidneys and things like that. But for today, it works with the digestive system. It's great for people who aren't absorbing nutrients correctly. The gut might be so out of whack that they're eating a beautiful diet, yet they're tired, they're losing weight, they're just not getting the nourishment that they should be getting from their meals. So parsley is ideal for these sorts of people. Again, you can add it in your food. As a herbalist, we use the root. That's kind of stronger than the leaves. So I'll use it in a tincture, but definitely throw the leaves in. You can actually make parsley tea as well. So if you're somebody, who maybe, your blood's down, you're low on iron, and even, I'm eating all these beautiful iron-rich foods, or like I said, you're eating very well, but you just don't feel like you're getting the correct energy that you should from your meal, then you probably need something like parsley that just brings our the energy in our body into the, focuses it into that area and brings healing. Ginger, good old ginger. Many of us familiar with ginger. Ginger anti-nausea, pregnancy. We might have ginger tea. You can make just buy ginger like this. You can juice it. It's a great one to juice. Just throw in a juice. Also, coughs and cold juices too. But today it's about digestion. So nausea. Sickness. Ocean sickness, seasickness is the word I'm looking for. I've actually had a few people now who have gone on cruises or on boats, and they've used ginger, but the ginger tincture. So if you are going to use it for seasickness, PM me and I'll give you some ginger tincture, because it just seems to be that bit better. But as far as your digestion goes, ginger is very warming. So if you're somebody who has a cold constitution with cold hands, you really feel the cold, ginger is a really good one because it warms you up. It brings warmth to the body, and it helps to relax too. It has a bit of a muscle relaxant quality to it as well. What else have I done? I've done fennel. Something to talk about actually that's becoming more and more of an issue in our modern day, now that there's so much travel, and us here in Australia, we were pretty protected from a lot of the parasites. And it might be gross, but it's actually quite natural to have some parasites in your body. So really, I'm not overly concerned about parasites unless we start to see symptoms. Unless you're getting digestive issues, you might be getting diarrhea, constipation. And another thing that you might notice is if you go overseas and you pick up some weird bug and you really crook overseas, and then when you come back to Australia, living your life and your gut's never been the same, often that can be a sign of parasites. So we use very bitter parasitic herbs like black walnut, wormwood, even like Portiaco. Portiaco I use a lot for candida. Fabulous. Portiaco, garlic, great for candida overgrowth, but also a bit of an anti-parasite as well. You probably don't want to take parasitic herbs as a tea, because they're pretty gross. They're very bitter, very strong. I mean, if you're hardcore, you might like it. And back in the day, that used to be what would happen is your nan would give you, a cup of wormwood tea. But we've got the tincture, so you can just whack them down, and they work really well. I've also seen people, particularly children, who just chronic threadworm. They just keep getting reinfested, and just the regular Combantrin's not working anymore. The herbs really do work a treat, because they just seem to, there's possibly other parasites there going crazy too. So the herbs really work really well for little kids who are constantly getting parasitic infections, as well as adults, of course. The other one too is aloe vera, this is just like, you can buy the aloe vera juice just from the health food store. This is, 99.9% aloe vera juice. And you can also grow aloe vera. Most of us probably know it's good for sunburn and that sort of stuff. But aloe vera is also very soothing in the digestive tract. If you've had any sort of real aggressive diarrhea, or even where there's inflammation, aloe vera is quite soothing. But what it's primarily known for is for constipation, what we call dry pebbly stools, a very dry constitution, very dry bowel. And if you're somebody, this is where I'm at post-chemo myself. I never got the diarrhea. I did a lot to protect my digestive system. But 6 months on, I'm just noticing it's a lot more sluggish. So I actually brought the aloe vera juice for myself. I do have it out in the garden, and yeah, I get there, but sometimes convenience is a go. So don't beat yourself up. I don't always use the fresh herbs. I've bought that aloe vera juice. If you do use the fresh leaves, what's important to know is that when you cut the leaf open, you'll see that there's like a darker yellowy edge closer to the inside of the leaf. And that is where the very aggressive chemicals, what's called allantoin, my biochemistry is not the best, but the real laxative qualities of the aloe vera plant are right under the leaf. So we don't really want those. So when you scrape the gel out of the leaf and put it in a smoothie, put it in your juice, whatever you do, just be careful not to use too much of that yellow stuff, because you might get real griping, because it's very aggressive, very, griping, cramping, very strong laxative, which we don't really want or need. I'm just using that milder juice just morning and night, just to help get my body back in whack. Is that it? I know once I finish, I'm going to go, I forgot to say whatever. If anybody's watching, if you've got a question or a particular digestive herb, I think questions, I can't see questions, so that's the other one I did think of though, is calendula. Calendula is, again, a lot of people know calendula for its wound healing. It's a fabulous wound healer. But we can take this wound healing quality internally. So if you're somebody who has ulcers or diverticulitis or any sort of inflammatory bowel disease, calendula, it's a nice one just to have in your day-to-day regime. You can buy it in its tea form, often in blends, like digestive blends. There's a few companies out now that make blends of teas for the digestive system. I am contemplating getting some of those in clinic, and I'll let you know when I do, because I think having teas throughout the day is a really lovely way to use herbs, and they still work. Very beautiful. What else? Licorice. Licorice was the other one. Okay, so you've got aloe vera, which is a slight laxative just to help getting the bowel going. Licorice as well. Licorice is very good for it's good for many things, but it's good for ulcers. So we have to be careful, because some people are a bit sensitive to one of the constituents in licorice, but a lot of people aren't. But so it's good for ulcers, stomach ulcers. Also, again, it has a slight laxative effect. So if you're somebody whose bowel is a bit sluggish, you might even want to start sipping on your licorice tea. Don't you do? Oh yeah, here I got a licorice. I quite like licorice. I got a licorice tea there. So I'm just going to recap from the top. So for our digestive system and to look after our body holistically, if you're anyone with digestive issues, you could start by doing bitters before you eat, any sort of bitter. We can then use your dandelion or St. Mary's thistle, like to support the liver, gallbladder. Fennel is actually good too for the pancreas. Just to get those digestive enzymes going. Once we start eating the food, you've got chamomile for that sort of, if you get a lot of cramping. Lemon balm too. Both chamomile and lemon balm are good for people who have that emotional relationship with their appetite. Then we've got the mints. Lemon balm is one of the mints, but also like peppermint. parsley to help when things just feel stagnant. Parsley is good to help, if you're not absorbing your nutrients properly. So once it's all gone down, if it's not still moving, then we look at things like, if you're getting windy, we're looking at your fennel and your dill. Then if you're getting a bit constipated, you can look at your antiparasitics, like your black walnut, your wormwood. If you've got candida overgrowth, we're looking at portiaco, your garlic. And then as a sort of gentle laxative, but a healing laxative, we look at aloe vera juice and licorice. So I think that's it for now. I try to keep it herbs that you may be able to grow, herbs that are kind of common. You've probably heard the names before. But if you've got really hardcore digestive issues, they're not often, when you see a practitioner like myself, we can often fix all those sorts of things. But give this a go first if you want. And the other thing too to really remember is to have a high fiber diet. Our soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, that's what helps our body to clean house, bulks up your bowels and moves things through. Also our everyone's on about good bacteria, bad bacteria. Soluble fiber, insoluble fiber feeds our good bacteria, particularly in the large intestine. So we want a fiber-rich diet to feed our microbiome. You can also use your prebiotics, like your sauerkraut, kimchi, all that stuff that's very trendy at the moment. For good reason, it's good stuff. Probiotics, you want to be a bit more specific. You really want to, there's so many products out there as probiotics. It's really good to get some advice on the right bacteria for your the issue, because there is different bacteria work in different ways. So it's good to just make sure you're taking the right probiotic, because they can do some really good stuff too. So as I say, health begins in the gut. And one of the ways that we can heal our gut is using all the fabulous plant magic. So thanks for watching. Please share this if you feel like somebody else could benefit from me chatting away. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week, but next Thursday I will be live again. And if you have any ideas for me to talk about, please tell me. Thanks for watching, and have a most fabulous day and a fabulous weekend. Since it's Thursday, we're almost there. Bye.